Hey, welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Mitch English. You know, pushing the envelope is pretty much what comedians do. And sometimes they are actually the voice of the voiceless. But when does it go too far? Or does it ever? In a society where jokes can get you canceled, are comedians now being silenced? Well, we got a chance to hook up with Aries, very funny guy, to talk about how he's navigating through this cancel culture, which is a disease when it comes to everybody wanting to have a voice and nobody really listening to the truth. And let's just jump right into it. Aries, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Big elephant in the room. People all across the country tried to actually cancel you over some comments you had made about Lizzo. But you're still actually going really, really strong. You know, let's talk about comedians being canceled. You know, comedians are the ones that change the world. If we look at how we listen to news, I mean, all those late night comedy hosts and such really kind of changed the structure of how we pay attention to news. Would you agree with that? And you see that changing in the future?
I can't really talk about it from a news standpoint, but from a comedic standpoint, three of the greatest comedians that I've ever known, Dave Chappelle, said that, comedians should know where the line is. And the only way you know where the line is when you cross it.
Okay.
George Carlin said that comedians should know where the line is and intentionally cross it. And then the late, great Patrice O'Neill said that in comedy, 50% of the audience should be laughing. The other 50% should be horrified. So, I think if you're doing your job, it's to always push buttons, and people got to remember, man, I stand true to this badge called comedy and this oath I've taken called humor. I'm not a politician. I'm not a scholar. I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
So when you interview me, whatever you ask me, if you throw me a lob, I'm going to dunk
it. And you're supposed to, exactly. I totally appreciate that. I think comedians put a mirror up to America and make us take a look at what we're doing and where we're at. I got to talk about what Ye brought up about the comments about Lizzo. He was on Carlson, and he's back on October 6th. As Lizzo works with my trainer, he's a friend of mine, Harley Pasternak. When Lizzo loses 10 pounds, announces the bots on Instagram attacked her for losing weight because the media wants to put out a perception that being overweight is a new goal when it's actually unhealthy. I mean, he didn't get really that much backlash. Is it because he's Ye and he's not labeled a comedian?
Well, I think if you really put it in the proper context to that, what he also was trying to point out was that, particularly in the Black community,
Okay.
The objective and the agenda is to destroy and kill the Black community. And part of that is with obesity. So that's also what he said, which I thought was very important to add. Now, do I believe in such a conspiracy theory as that? I don't know if I don't know how to really weigh in on that, but the truth of the matter is this: obesity does run high in the Black community, high blood pressure. That's no secret. And while I certainly understand the reason for Black female solidarity and Black female unity, because that's those were a lot of the people that came at me were angry women. While I certainly understand it, and why I definitely get why it's needed, because in this country, historically, our women have always been made to feel less than. So I understand the need for the solidarity and for the unity. But while Lizzo's confidence is both admirable and commendable, our celebration in regards to her confidence is also very dangerous because of hypertension and type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol, which I suffer from all of that. So if anybody had the right to speak, especially comedically, it was me.
Okay. I listen to you. You're a very educated guy, and most comedians are. They're very smart people. And, for me to sit here, if you had kind of delivered it like that, you really wouldn't turn a lot of heads. But being a comedian, would you feel that way?
I still would have. Because, again, we live in an age now where this cell phone is everybody's weapon.
Yeah.
And everybody doesn't deserve the keys to the liquor cabinet and the gun cabinet. It's a blessing and a curse. Everybody's on their phone. It gives people a voice. It gives everybody a platform to try to show how talented they are and show how, smart they are. But at the same time, everybody doesn't deserve to get into Studio 54.
I love it. And I wholeheartely agree with you on that. And you know what's so cool about this? Even though you're going through all this with the cancel culture and everything, you're still selling out shows, which is awesome, which means there are people that are wanting to hear you. And it kind of gives credence to the fact that, you know what, maybe we need to listen between the lines of what is being said. What advice do you give to comedians, or maybe just anybody who might face cancel culture for just things that they feel or what they say?
Always be as funny as you can be, but tell the truth. You know, everybody doesn't have the nerves of steel to go out and tell that truth. So, you know, I can't speak for everybody on that note.
Yeah.
I can only speak for me, because I'm old school, man. I was born in '75. I'm an '80s baby. I'm from that Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock era. So it's all I know how to do. But, you know, comedy is a drug. It's a high. People like to feel good. And my comedic cocaine is 100% Bolivian uncut.
All right, I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about your podcast, Spears and Steinberg. I love it. What can we hear about on this show?
Well, you know, and now that we live in such an era where everybody's politically sensitive and politically correct, we're like alcohol in the Prohibition era. You know, we don't hold nothing back. There's no censorship. We go for the jugular. So it's just no holds barred comedy. And audio listening pleasure. It's called Spears and Steinberg. It's available on all streaming platforms. I always tell people, slide into my DMs and my Instagram under Aries Spears, blue check mark. I'll chop it up with you, talk to you, ask you questions, and also send you the direct links.
All right, man. Everyone loves what you're saying. They could check you out in Orlando. You're going to be at the Improv?
Yes, sir. 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 1 show Sunday. I believe you can go to the website for tickets and info.
Absolutely. Tonight, check him out here in Orlando. And, of course, check out ariesspears.com for more details. Thank you, Aries. Appreciate you being on the show.
You got it, brother. Thank you.